Thank you so much for joining us on episode number 25 of Lunch Out Loud Ottawa.
25.
My name is Nick Baczewski.
I'm Andrew Miller.
And of course, Lunch Out Loud Ottawa is a podcast that discusses all things Ottawa. So the people, the places, the events, and of course the music that makes this city and the incredible city it is.
Amazing.
So we're right here. We're doing this episode live on the patio, the back patio of Woody's on Elgin Street, Sens Mile. Getting ready for game number 5 tonight in Montreal. It's going to be a good one.
Round number 5, it should be called.
I went to the game Sunday. It was incredible.
Oh, that's right. That was a hell of a game, that's for sure.
It was an incredible game.
All the games have been really good, for that matter.
Exactly right. So we're here with the Vice President of the Centertown Community Citizens Association.
Say it 5 times real fast.
I can. Which looks after the interests of citizens living in the downtown area. So if you're not living in the downtown area, in the Centertown area, it's still going to be a very interesting episode because we have so many things to touch on based on a lot of municipal politics that have been going on in the past year, 2 years that are going to affect the next 20 years. So it's going to be very interesting in that regard. So while we get ready to check that out, hopefully you check out this. All right, so that there was Take It Back by the Steve Adamyk band. He's actually leaving today for a tour of Western Canada and the United States. So that song was Take It Back, and it comes off their third album entitled Third. The crazy thing about this album, it's 12 tracks and just over 20 minutes.
Joey Ramone would be very happy.
Exactly right. So it's really quick. You'll see them at the Blues Fest playing the main stage at 1 p.m. on the Sunday, July 7th. So, of course, as always, we always stress get out there Sunday afternoon.
For sure. I do like their sound. It's good. It's got like an 80s punk feel to it.
80s or 70s? 70s, 80s.
Early 80s, late 70s, I guess.
They're getting incredible.
I wasn't around in the 70s. So. I listened to it in the 80s.
They've been getting incredible reviews across Canada and the United States. I read a review of their album from LA today.
Well, that's good. And what better for our show than mixing up some punk and some politics here and there, right?
All right. Absolutely. So thank you so much for joining us, Robert. It's a pleasure to have you here.
It's nice to be here. The patios are always one of my favorite places to be. So
absolutely.
I won't complain.
As soon as that weather starts, they just pack up everywhere across the city, and I love it.
And especially these past days with playoffs, this Elgin Street's been incredible.
That's it. And no rain today. It was supposed to thunderstorm all day, and I mean, on my birthday, which is today.
So far, so
Happy
good.
Birthday.
So far, so good. Thank you. But 33 years, I think I remember 1 year where it didn't rain. So
really?
I was, as soon as I saw it in the forecast, I knew it was going to happen. I said, hey, that's okay. It wouldn't be a birthday without it. So.
All right.
Either way, it's holding off, and we're out here. So
And lovely construction going on right behind us.
That's all right.
All right. So, Robert, where are you originally from, and how did you end up in Centertown and Ottawa? And
Toronto born and bred, back in way back when.
Some people might boo that at this time.
Yeah. Well, I now call myself an Ottawa boy, so it's all good. I'm all local. So Toronto born and bred. I spent a few years in Stratford, Ontario before heading out to Ottawa. Worked in radio out there for a few years, and then came here and been off and on. Been living downtown since about 2001, but I've been specifically downtown in Centertown since 2007, just off the canal. So it's you know what, it's an amazing place to live.
Absolutely.
And I don't think I'd want to be anywhere else right now.
Do you see yourself living in Ottawa for the rest of the time?
Absolutely. I don't see me going anywhere else right now. There's the road ahead doesn't show that I'm going to be leaving Ottawa.
Well, and you always got travel, right? I mean, as long as you got a nice home base like this, where you can do what you love all the time, and you can always travel. Like last week.
Yeah. Well, the idea.
Head out to Banff. That was
nice.
Well,
when your boss tells you got to go to Banff, you got to go to Banff. Right?
It's a tough struggle.
And it was interesting. We got 10 centimeters of snow in the first half of the week. It's like. It was nice to, and being there, I didn't really think like winter was bombarding me. I thought, okay, well, I'm in a town where winter should be, and it was nice to see when you're going off to work in the plant there, the guys with their snowboards and their skis, they're still boarding the buses heading up to the mountains.
That's the life out
yeah,
there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and Andrew's going to be leaving for that soon.
yeah, you're making me jealous already.
What are some of the restaurants and key spots that keep you excited here in Ottawa?
I do a lot of business on Elgin Street, so I try to support Elgin Street as much as I can. Elgin Street for me is key because I think it's going to be the next big street in Ottawa. We've looked after Bank Street, we've looked after Preston. I think Elgin Street's due for a revamp, and I want to make sure that it remains strong. So Sir John A. I love Keith and the guys here at Woody's. I love the people here. So I don't have one favorite place in Elgin Street, but we'll shake it up.
Yeah, I've noticed a few places changing hands here and there. There's a new place where Big Daddy's used to be.
That's
hasn't been there yet. But
that's a good piece of Asian fusion in there. It's
really
good. So
I've heard good things about it.
Have you been to Slice yet?
No, maybe tomorrow for lunch because I hear they're opening tomorrow for lunch.
They are. We can put that announcement out there.
I did. I went there. I think 2 weeks ago now, and it was really, really, really good. Yeah, I had a Chicago deep dish, and it was excellent.
I think that's the thing I'm interested in is trying that Chicago deep dish. Yeah.
All homemade ingredients. Everything like that.
The service was great too. I mean, couldn't complain about anything.
And as a local politician, a lot of them do come to the city, and you deal a lot more provincially. So they don't necessarily know Ottawa as much as maybe federal politicians. Where would you take them? Where do you like to show off? Because I know, Tim Hudak has been here a number of times.
Tim's been here a few times, so he's been in the market. So I like to take people into the market because it's important that they're there. But I think that walking up and down Elgin Street's great. The hill, of course, always go up to the hill. But I think one of the interesting tours you take is you take people around and you show them all the embassies and all the embassy residences wherever they are, and they're not all situated in Rockcliffe. So there's quite a few of them in Centertown that it's interesting to go.
The Westboro ones,
yeah,
I like those on Island Park. Those are
there's a couple of nice ones.
And they're located in the riding. So when we're out, to say, well, this is in my riding at all the different embassies and the residences.
That reminds me, did you get to participate in any of the Jane's Walks the past weekend?
I actually did not. I was. What was I doing this weekend? It was only a few days ago, but it's history.
Were you still in Banff for the weekend? Or?
No, I actually no. On the weekend, we ended up doing some canvassing. We were out canvassing, knocking door to door for the provincial election that may or may not happen. So knocking on doors.
And when's that supposed to happen again?
Well, I guess we're waiting for the vote on the budget, but more importantly, I think what we're waiting for is whether Andrea Horvath is going to actually support the government or whether they're not, or whether she's going to continue piling on lists of demands to the government to see whether or not she'll support the budget as it was presented.
Interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's a wait and see to see what the leader of the NDP is going to do. But that hasn't stopped us. So we've been out canvassing door to door every weekend for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and
that's good.
And getting response from people on the door.
Well, yeah, no, and I went to 2 Jane's Walks on the weekend. They were absolutely incredible. 2 hours each, and just learned so much about Wellington Street, Westboro. Andrew King, who's going to be on our show in a couple of weeks, led an Indiana Jones crusade through Westboro. It was an incredible time.
No, it was, and I was able to follow a few of them on Twitter, so it's kind of interesting to see people's reactions on the Jane's Walks. I think they're a phenomenal way to get to know your community, especially if you're a newbie in the area, or if you just want to come in from out of town and see and get a good perspective from someone who lives downtown, or any neighborhood. Get that local perspective, whether you're going out to Barhaven to do it or whether you're coming into the Centertown to do it. Getting that local perspective, it gives you a whole different way of looking at it.
For our listeners, how can they get out there and get to these Jane Walks?
Well, it happens once a year, and it's usually the first weekend of May. So that's when it happened. We have Doors Open Ottawa coming up in a month, and I encourage everybody to check that out because that's just an awesome way to see a lot of buildings that are not open to the public during the time. And then you can go see it. Last year I visited many of the embassies and places in Rockcliffe just because it was a beautiful day, and I thought that would be the best way. But this year there's even more. So.
And last year they had a great one. They had the old train station open last year.
Oh, that'd be neat.
That was phenomenal to see.
Yeah, we got a lot of good heritage buildings in this city that I'd love to see the insides of.
Anyway, so the reason why we brought you on was because you are
that's what called you on.
You're very actively involved with the Centertown Community Citizens Association.
Yeah.
And they've just recently, as of yesterday, put forth the CDP was passed by City Council. So we wanted to get you to educate, I guess, people listening that might not necessarily, they'll hear Centertown community plan, city politics, and go, that's not for me, but actually it is. This is paving the path for the next 20, 30 years. And so we wanted to get somebody that's actively involved, and so if you can tell about the official plan and the secondary plan, that would be
well. It was an interesting process because we've now closed one door, and there's still 2 or 3 other doors that have to be closed on this. So we've closed the door on the Centertown design plan, the community design plan that started 3.5, 4 years ago now, and it's been an interesting journey, especially the last 4 months. In the twists and turns that the CDP has taken in that. But what we hopefully have done is have City Council pass a document which is actually going to guide developers and communities in this area for the next 20 years. Mm-hmm. George Dark had an interesting, and he's basically the architect of most of the CDP, had an interesting comment this week where he said, well, this is going to be good for the next 10 years and until there's a next culture shift. So I'm interested to see how this plan is going to stand up into the culture shift that could happen in about 10 years' time. But what it does is should give us an idea of what people can expect when they're going to move into Centertown over the next 20, as you were saying, Nick, for the next 20, 30 years.
Because like when we had Peter Hume on, we've had the problem in the last 4 or 5 years with condo developers. They don't, and it's not always their fault. No. They don't know the rules and regulations because they're getting spot zoning and they can put up a building, and if that's their job and that's their role and they're allowed to do it and that gets passed, then they're going to do it. But that strikes a complete discord with the community who buy a new home and then they're told, oh, there's no condo going up, and then of course a condo does go up, so then they start getting mad at developers. Developers are not talking to their community, the association. So there's been so much discourse, and hopefully
has something come up yet? Then I'm assuming maybe that was passed yesterday with regulations as to how high buildings can go in Centertown. Or I know there was a lot in the survey that everyone was doing, or the questionnaire. Yeah, exactly. And I know that I, for one, voted for, I think it was maybe 6-story high maximum sort of thing going down Bank and the Glebe and whatnot. But
the idea behind the CDP was to be able to put, and this is where the developers and the community came together, was that the developers wanted to know how high can I go, and the community wanted to know how high are you going to go.
Yeah.
So that's what the CDP is supposed to do. Now, the CDP that was passed yesterday gave us some certainty, but not the certainty that we were looking for.
Okay.
There has been a lot of talk about an agreement that was made between the community association and the developers, headed by Ted Faubert from Foten, who basically does a lot of consulting for the developers in the area. And
he had about 12. There's 12 developers included, but it was fluctuating a bit.
It was fluctuating. In the end, there was maybe 6 or 7 developers.
That's it,
6 or 7 developers that came on board and said, yes, we agree with how the two sides are getting together and doing this. So that was an interesting process, and it was a process that was born out of necessity, based on a presentation by the City of Ottawa on the 11th of February. They said, this is the CDP as we're going to send it out, and we're going to vote on this, and darn it, this is what we're going to have.
Yeah. Well, you'd think the developers would all want to be a part of this, right?
They would, and they do. And the odd thing is, the developers do want to be a part of it. The community wants to be a part of it. But what had never happened before is that the developers and the community had never gotten together to do it. So, and Centertown has an interesting history because there is a lot of knocking of heads in Centertown when it comes to community and developers.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think that the CCCA has, for the wrong reasons, a bad reputation of wanting to deal with developers. And I think we're turning that around. And the discussions we had with the developers were fruitful. Fruitful in the sense that some of the things that we hammered out in this agreement actually are in the new CDP. Not everything we hammered out is part of it, but there are essential parts of that CDP that are now in there because of the agreement that we had.
Can you give some examples for listeners that might wonder, because a lot of them, because the main thing was the small moments and the large scale developments that we'll go over in the landmark buildings that we'll go over in a bit. But what are some of the smaller? I think
the main things that really we got across was we were protecting the residential areas that as we know them in Centertown now. So east of Elgin, west of Kent, we're protecting those, so you're not going to see people being able to buy 2 or 3 lots of single homes and
tearing down
and
and
put something up which is 12, 15 stories high. So we've protected more of the residential aspect of what Centertown's going to be. There's some heritage aspects as well that we were able to get in.
Sure.
The city's agreed with us on some on how to reword some of the zoning with regards to heritage and residential units and some heights in some areas that otherwise would not have been protected in the CDP that was presented on the 11th of February. So that was pretty cool, and that was a good thing for us to turn around and say we can work with people who typically don't see eye to eye with us and we can turn around and come up with something good. And I'm hoping that as a member of the community association and co-chair of the planning committee, that'll be a door that'll now be open for developers to come to us and say, let's talk about what I'd like to do on this corner. And what would you like to see? There are other community associations that are very successful in doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sandy Hill is in Hintonburg. They're very good at being able to talk to developers before applications are sent to the city. And we've made the steps to show that Centertown's ready to make that step to say, we're willing to talk to you and we'd like to tell you what our ideas are before going to the city.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, change does have to happen, which is, and obviously you can drive through Centertown and there's, a couple of new builds here and there, but I mean, the majority, it's pretty tough. And, as we were speaking before, and we know that, Ottawa has to stop growing outward. And as that happens, we're going to have to redevelop more within the city. And, eventually, the lot sizes might get a little smaller. And, are we going to be seeing more like doubles being built and like singles? In Westboro, that was a big thing for the last 3 years. Take down a small house on a big lot, put up 2 semi-detached homes.
Well, part of the discussion still has to go. The city is now talking about their infill. What's their infill policy, and how they're going to do it. So that's the next part of what's going to happen. The big discussion and my philosophy on the CDP is it's not about keeping Centertown as it is now, because change is inevitable. What the CDP should do, and what the residents of Centertown should look at the CDP as doing, is protecting the nature of Centertown, but allowing it to grow and allowing it to absorb all the good stuff which is going to come in the future. The Centertown of 1982, of 2013 is not going to be the Centertown of 2033. It has to evolve, and some residents, and rightfully so. I mean, they're here, they've been here for a very long time. But in the end, they have to take a look at, I'm not going to be here in 30 years. What do I want Centertown to look like in the next 30 years so that my children or my grandchildren or their children can actually have a Centertown and want to live in the downtown core? We're starting to see a renaissance of people moving back into Centertown, and we can't have that continue without having a plan that says we want to accommodate everybody's needs as they come in. And the needs are going to change as more people come in.
Awesome. All right, so we're going to just take a quick break and then be right back with Rob Dekker from the CCCA.
Let's hear another tune.
Yeah, we're going to listen to Wait for Your Number from the Steve Adamyk Band, and you can, of course, see him Blues Fest Sunday, July 7th, 1 p.m. We'll be right back. All right. Right, so once again, that was Wait for Your Number by the Steve Adamyk Band, and we're back with Rob Dekker from the CCCA. So we're going to ask, how can people get more involved in their community, and how the CDP will lead that change to allowing a lot more collaboration within the community.
Well, the CDP has opened up a lot of doors for people to understand that they have a voice and they can actually have an opinion that makes a change in how the city is run and what can happen. And that just doesn't happen every 4 years during an election. So we've had a couple open houses about the CDP where we've had a couple hundred people out every time, which is fabulous. So what we need to do is have people build on that. So whether it's through the consultative process of the City of Ottawa, or whether it's the community association, and we've learned a few lessons through this whole process, and one of those lessons is that maybe we should take a look at doing more open houses when issues come up, and getting people's opinion earlier rather
I think
than
so
later.
as well. That's what I got from that last meeting.
And you know, I'm not going to apologize for the way we did the CDP, because we were in a certain timeline that we had to meet. So that's past us. So we move forward and say that the community can have a stronger voice by coming out to the public meetings, voicing their opinions, becoming members of the community association, and actually being part of the city's consultative process, where the city's going to say, what do you want us to hear? Now, of course, the other side of the puck, hockey terminology, is that the city has to listen.
Yes.
So the community can talk all at once, but the hope is that the city, through their consultative, and this is kind of weird, they're consulting on the consultative process. Is that going to be enough for them to change their culture of how they will listen to the community and listen to the citizens of Ottawa? So that's going to be the interesting thing. So that's going to be what's going to happen, is it's going to be the citizens that drive that message to the city, and to the city planners and to the staff and to the councillors, say, just don't stop me at the door. I want my voice to be heard, and I want to have some influence in what can happen. So
is there any other way for them besides going to these open houses? Like, is there public forums online, or somewhere that they can email? Or
the city is using more and more, and without, I think it's a crutch. I think the online consultative process is a crutch.
They can
for
easily
the city
avoid
to say,
a lot of answers.
We can say that we've had our website open for the last 60 days, and people have been able to put their comments online, and we received X number of comments. Well, that doesn't buy it, because if people don't know that it's there, they're not going to use it. So I think the round tables, the open houses, the public meetings, it's old-fashioned, but you know what? That's where people love to get up to stand in front of a microphone, and they can be piss mad, they can do whatever they want, but at least they feel that they've got it out of their system. You can't really do it online, and they don't know whether or not anyone's going to listen to them when they're online. And I think maybe that's the fault of the city, by not being able to recognize that people have a voice and not listening to them.
And that's what we saw, I guess, in the first couple of drafts of the CDP, is the association was putting forth. They took a lot of time over the past 3.5 years that they've been working on this. They've been putting forth they've been taking their time, volunteers, to put forth ideas towards the city council and the planning committee, and them not integrating any of those ideas.
That's a frustration, Nick, that we had coming out of the February meeting, because none of the things that we had talked about were actually in the final CDP. So that drives us to do more of a consultative and open house business with it, and that'll drive us going forward. And knowing our timelines in the forward, we'll do that. I think we've got we've had some wonderful things happen in the city that have been a part of the consultative process. The city is growing. The city is changing. We've got some great things coming, and we need to continue
we do.
I'm looking forward to an LRT coming. I'm extremely disappointed that we don't have a stop at Elgin, where the NAC is. I'm so disappointed in that.
The stops are there's the one in
one by the Rideau Center,
Byward Market.
Yeah, exactly.
Rideau Center, is that
That's the same one. The Byward Market, Rideau Center,
and then you're going to have another one near Bank Street or around.
I'm happy that the LRT is going underground. I'm disappointed that the city didn't listen to what people want. And we need something in the heart of downtown that says, if you get off here, bam, you're going to go to NAC, you're going to the War Memorial, you're going to be steps away from all the major tourist parts. So we see that in others. Now
they're still going to have to walk from Bank down Laurier.
Or from Rideau.
And now that's a given. But I'm excited about the LRT coming in. I think the city's done terrific work in consultation with the community groups, with the former advisory committees about the bike lanes. There's a lot of people that are against the bike lanes, but look how the city has grown.
And they've been working
and they've been doing
well.
very well. Yeah. And this is a pilot project, and I think that the bike lanes will evolve to so that the people who live on Laurier, by Bronson, who want to have better parking, that'll all evolve, and I think that'll get itself resolved. I think the city has shown that it can grow up and really be a part of evolving in the needs of the community. Because people who live downtown, they don't have a car.
No.
And that's what we drive people to do. Like, we drive people to come downtown, buy a condo, buy a house, ditch their car, get a bike, but we've never provided the facilities for them. So the city's now in the process of the facilities. We now have the new multi-use path by the O train that just got opened this week. We've got the bike lanes on Laurier. There could be further bike lanes. The NAC has been working with the city with what they're doing in Wellington Street. I think that's phenomenal that we continue to do that growth.
Well, the more we grow, I mean, the more those are going to be
I think there's some
important.
fabulous things going on in the city. I like some of the development that's happening. I like to see the buildings go up. I'd like to see some better designs of buildings going up.
Yeah.
Hopefully with new guidelines that will come in place, the architects and the designers will be challenged to come up with something then which is just a tall glass box.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and we see that, like, we have the urban
review design panel,
and they don't look at every single new condo that comes into the city, though.
Well, that's more of the urban review design panel is a closed panel right now. So I think if people were to open that up, but if you have the developers consulting with the communities prior to going through all these official steps, you can actually get a better product out of it.
Well, that's it. They should be able to view the plans and voice
before
their
they
opinion.
even go to the city to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That just happened in Westboro at the. Do you know about that one? Where it was a new condo developer in the city. It's somebody that hasn't developed yet, and they met with all the residents. They put flyers all around the city or all around the neighborhood. They had about 20, 25 people, and they're like, "What do you think about the driveway, or like the driveway coming out here, coming out there?"
Yeah.
They're like, "No," and then they changed it on the spot.
Absolutely,
and that's what
why
they're
not?
going to the city with.
Well,
and,
even last night
stuff.
in Sandy Hill, there was one with Richcraft, where Richcraft wants to put up 12 to 18 stories, and it was phenomenal because
in Sandy Hill.
Richcraft was put, I think it was Sandy Hill, but it was last night, and the architect said, well, the question was asked, well, what if you don't get your 18 stories? What are you going to do? Are you going to walk away? And the architect said, no, we're actually going to put something stylish up, which is 6 or 9 stories. So we'll do something stylish here, whether we get our 18 stories or not. And that question alone, from what I could gather, just following it on Twitter last night, was changed the whole tone of the argument. Because people were like bitching at this developer, saying, "Why are you putting this in our neighborhood?" But as soon as the developer was turned around and said, "Well, we don't get 18 stories. We're still here.
Yeah,
we'll just put something else up, and we'll make sure that it looks just as good." It was quite phenomenal to see.
Well, that's just it. I mean, from the developer's point of view, like, nobody wants to burn that bridge, right? And put up things that everyone hates, and then obviously they're not going to have a business for much longer, right?
That has happened.
Well, that's just it.
Breton,
So
there's a lot of things that happen.
But there's a ton of opportunity for Centertown to do it right. I'm looking forward to an Elgin Street BIA being established. I hear they're not too far from that happening.
Yep.
I think that's a natural step in Centertown to protect the businesses. We've already, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we've already developed Bank Street. We've already redeveloped Preston. Elgin Street's not going to be far behind.
Absolutely.
And for the businesses and for the community to have a say as to what's going to happen on this really important gateway into downtown, we have to make sure that businesses and the community associations are bonded together for the best interests.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, like you said, I think, to me, we've redeveloped all these areas that are outside of the downtown core so much already. Yeah. And people are flooded out there, and it's time to, like you said, it's time to tackle the center of the city.
Oh, exactly.
This is where everything happens, right? So.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Rod.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. I'll meet you on the patio anytime. Let me know.
Absolutely. We'll just talk about some events going on this weekend, this lovely Mother's Day weekend.
Mother's Day, don't forget your mom.
Don't forget that kind of stuff.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Yep.
I'll send her the link to this so she can hear it.
Tonight is where it's at. My birthday, ritual. DJ Jazzy Jeff, legendary hip-hop artist, will be there.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
From the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, yeah. Well, he's been DJing forever. I'm not too sure what the cover is, but he's going to be doing a set with Scratch Bastard. It's going to be on 4 turntables, and apparently they've been touring together for a while, and their show is amazing. So
that'll be all right.
Yeah.
You got of course playoffs tonight and tomorrow. Yeah. End of the lease tomorrow. You got
end of the lease tomorrow. What am I up for money? I believe we have a couple of dollars on that series, don't we, Nick?
I forgot about that. Yeah, I'm not happy about that one.
We'll talk about that next week.
Comic-Con's happening this weekend, Ernst & Young. Maybe someday I'll go to Comic-Con.
I hear it's a riot. I'm not a big comic guy myself.
It's the
But
same here, but whatever.
it would be
It's all
entertaining,
good.
though.
There's a Star Wars exhibition at the Science and Technology Museum with
Oh,
a lot of
really?
things from Star Wars.
That's going to be there
pretty sweet.
till right through the summer. So
Really?
Through the
Yeah.
summer?
I'm definitely going to check that out.
That's-
I mean,
that's
it was
pretty
Star
sweet.
Wars Day last week, right?
Yeah.
May the 4th.
That's
Be
right.
with you,
yeah, you got that. Yeah, Tulip Festival's still going on. You got the album release party for Good Luck
Oh,
Assembly
yeah. That's on Saturday
night.
Yeah.
That's
What's
at
that, Mavericks?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And you got Electric Powwow with Tribe Called Red coming back from their USA tour.
Who also
Where
is putting out a new album as well.
Yeah, so you'll be able to get the new album. It's only $5 at the door, $20 if you want the album with it.
That's a pretty good deal.
But they were at the New Orleans Jazz Festival a couple weeks ago, and just rave reviews across the board.
Yeah.
It's a style of music that I think is really taken off, and it's just such a fun night. So I hope to be there Saturday night, as well as the album. It's going to be a busy weekend, as
Yeah.
every weekend is in the city. So next week we have the owners of Sandbats. It's kind of my personal kind of thing. We're
Yeah.
interviewing 70% of baseball bats used in Major League Baseball actually come from the Ottawa region.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
amazing.
learn all about that. How a tiny little company from Ottawa still continues on with that. So it's going to be excellent. All right. So final song.
Yeah, heart attack?
Yeah, had a heart attack.
Had a heart attack.
I don't have anything funny to say about that one. But it's a great one. Check out Steve Adamyk Band. Have a great week.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks,
Thank
Rob.
you. Have a good weekend.
Cheers.